How sex drives evolution. Sexual dimorphisms are traits that differ between males and females of the same species. Males have variation in color, size, tails, and song. Sexual dimorphic traits increase the chances that males get a mate and reproduce, but these traits are maladaptive because they reduce the organism's survival. Peacock males have beautiful and elaborate tail displays used to attract females. These same traits that attract females also attract predators. The weight of the tail makes it difficult for the peacock to fly, whereas females have short tails and feathers that camouflage them. Darwin was anxious to understand why sexual dimorphisms existed. He noted that these maladaptive traits were restricted to males. Remember that the currency of selection is surviving and successfully reproducing. Maladaptive traits are selected for if the risk of decreased survival is offset by the probability of attaining a mate for reproduction. Selection favors traits that make organisms more likely to successfully reproduce. Remember, there must also be heritable variations of a trait that make some more successful than others for selection to proceed. Darwin noted that there is a trade-off which led to the idea of sexual selection, which is a subset of natural selection. Sexual selection is selection that increases the chances of getting a mate. Sexual selection is responsible for sexual dimorphic traits. There are two forms of sexual selection. There is direct competition between males for access to females and female choosiness among possible mates. The female chooses the winner. In this example, we see two male deer in direct battle competing for a female mate. The winner of battle will gain access to females, whereas the loser will forfeit its chance to mate. Male-male competition will promote armaments that allow for victories in battle. Not all traits are attractive to females. Female choice is what drives the evolution of many sexual dimorphisms. The traits that attract females, such as bright colors, long tails, and loud calls, are selected for. In both types of sexual selection, there is male competition for females. In the second type, the winner is chosen by the female. But why don't females compete for males? Because sperm is cheap and eggs are expensive. So what happens after mating? There is post-mating competition. Sexual selection doesn't end with sex. Males want to prevent other males from stealing paternity. In this example, we see the Central American millipede, where the male rides on the female for several days to protect another male from inseminating her. In this example, the damselfly uses a penis scoop to remove sperm from the previous male before leaving his.
Why is there sex? Sex equals more offspring. There are two types of reproduction systems. One is asexual reproduction that doesn't require a mixing of genetic material and takes place whenever. For example, it's making an identical clone of the organism. 2. Sexual reproduction is when two organisms of the same species gets together and combines their genetic material to create a new organism that's genetically a little different. Pros and cons of sex. In asexual reproduction, everyone is reproducing and contributing to the next generation, but the genetic variation is very similar over the generations. In sexual reproduction, only half of the population is reproducing offspring, in this case, females, but the genetic variation here is more diverse within the population. Why is genetic variation important? Gene variation makes a population of organisms less susceptible to disease and more able to survive in conditions that get bad. Caucasian rock lizards are parthenogenic species. It's a mode of asexual reproduction where offsprings are produced by females whose eggs aren't fertilized and don't contain any genetic material from males. Disease epidemic. If a disease were to hit a population of Caucasian rock lizards, their population would be wiped out because their gene pool has no genetic variation. Why did sex evolve? There are many theories, but the two main ones are 1. It purges bad genes in a population. 2. Sexual reproduction randomly shuffles genes, which creates new combinations of genes in the next generation of offspring. Sexual dimorphism of gametes. Gametes were the same size in both sexes in their ancestral state, but over time, natural selection evolved to favor sexual reproduction, which created sexual dimorphism in gametes, changing the size and number of gametes produced by a female and male. Females have a set number of eggs, which are much larger in size compared to sperm. On the other hand, sperm is constantly being produced in large quantities all throughout a male's lifespan. Sexual dimorphism. Between sexes of the same species has forced females to be choosy with whom they mate with. This has caused males to compete for females, known as direct competition. Sexual selection is what drives sexual dimorphism between sexes. Sexual selection always ensures females will have access to mates, but when it comes to males, some will have access to mates and others won't. Reverse sexual dimorphism is seen in some species, for example, seahorses and pipefish, where the roles are switched. Females are now the ones competing for male access. Females have ornamental features and certain behaviors they use to woo their male mates, while males are now the deciders. Monogamy. When it comes to monogamous relationships, species are labeled as either socially monogamous or truly monogamous. Social monogamous relationships are when a male and female from the same species raise their offspring together but still reproduce sexually with other individuals. There's evidence of sexual dimorphism between the sexes. Species that are truly monogamous only reproduce with their mates and no other individuals. There is no evidence of sexual dimorphism, which means males don't have to compete for female access.
Why choose? There are two theories behind female mate preferences. Alfred Russel Wallace proposed that female plainness was to protect them from predators, while the exaggerated features of males resulted from physiology. However, there is no explanation why males are also not camouflage. Charles Darwin proposed that male characteristics evolved from female choice and was based on pure aesthetics. However, this doesn't make sense to base solely on appeal. However, evidence does show that female preferences can be adapted. Inclination towards particular types of males helps spread genes. This suggests that preferences are evolved by selection. From choosing certain males, females can benefit directly or indirectly. With direct benefits, females choose a male that will help produce more or healthier offspring during childcare. This male can provide nutrition, resources, territory, or paternal care for offspring. Here, there is a gene within the female that causes her to mate with a male that can provide for these resources, resulting in better survival and reproduction than others. This gene preference continues and increases in the next generation, causing male competition or direction towards the future. For example, brighter house finches of North America males are shown to feed their young more often than lighter males. With indirect benefits, a female chooses a male with better genes than the others, but the male does not contribute anything else. These genes may be adaptive for the next generation to inherit, or could have genes that make them survive or reproduce better than others. Here, the male has a gene that is beneficial and the female gains evolutionary benefit from mating with him. Their offspring may have a gene that identifies the beneficial gene. When these offspring reproduce and genes are spread through natural selection, genes of female preference follows with the beneficial gene and increases in the species. The males with the beneficial gene are the only males that can showcase behaviors or display features. For example, in the sage grouse species, vocal sacs with blood spots on them indicate bad genes and infestation. Evolutionary theory dictates that females should prefer characteristics that display particularly males as a good father. Only condition is that genes must be increased to show the trait, and varied expression shows the male status. Selection will favor these good genes, as they are preferred and show high viability. The three types of genes within the good genes model will increase in frequency. Genes for male indicator reflecting good genes, genes that make females prefer the indicator trait, and good genes reflected by indicator. For example, the peacock's eye spots reflect better survival and faster growth within the young. In the sensory bias models, pre-existing biases in females' nervous systems drive the evolution of sexual dimorphism. Biases are byproducts of natural selection serving other functions, or male novel features stimulate female nervous systems.
These preferences toward features that hold interests are different, etc. In sensory bias models, females derive neither direct nor indirect benefits from choosing a particular male. This is significant because pre-existing preferences created by natural selection to help in survival and reproduction were co-opted by sexual selection, resulting in new male traits.